Guardiola's Manchester City side, and some would say, are about to embark on a period of genuine greatness. Now, he has recently done something that, well, only Sir Alex Ferguson has previously done. Only Fergie. Now, Pep Guardiola is already, and rightly so, among one of the greats of the football game. He's won everything in club football, and for many, he's the most influential manager of this century because he shaped the way football is played with the world over. But that's just like Sir Alex Ferguson did. Sir Alex Ferguson did exactly the same. Now, this might sound strange to some. You don't always associate tactical gameplay with Sir Alex Ferguson. And one of the reasons we don't kind of remember that is that football fans have short memories. We do. We have short memories. And there's no denying at all that Pep Guardiola, yeah, Pep Guardiola's footballing philosophy has revolutionised the game. But Sir Alex Ferguson, against all odds, was always ahead of his time. That's my opinion. What am I talking about? Yeah, I'll let you know. So let's go back to the 1992-93 season, and you will have found that almost every English club used the 4-4-2 system. That's with speedy wingers who could cross the ball from wide. So think David Beckham on the right, think Ryan Giggs on the left. Now, okay, Becks was known more for his crossing, whereas Giggs was known more for his mazy little runs and his dribbling ability. Um, and then the most pivotal moment in football at the time, Fergie goes and buys Eric Cantona. Cantona was English football's, this might be a bit controversial, but most likely was English football's first number 10. He was a troublesome kind of angry man who could play between the lines, and in doing so, he and Alex Ferguson completely transformed the English game. That the opponents were not structured at the time to stop a number 10 in a withdrawn role. Uh, Later, this made every club search for their own Eric Cantona equivalent and build their team around a number 10. So that Arsenal got Dennis Bergkamp, Chelsea got Zola, Middlesbrough signed Juninho, and City signed King Clancy. So how is that? How does that make a tactical revolution? But well, despite the fact that Cantona was a genius, winning the first title since 1967 was not easy. It was not as straightforward as you might have thought it would have been. There was that season. I remember there was a much win game against Norwich. We had to win that game. That season, Norwich had started the '93 season in the April, that is, at the top of the league, and United were about a point behind them. Michael Cox, a famous football writer at the time, and he was known for his tactical analysis, uh, gave an account at the time in his brilliant book, The Mixer. He said, United appear to be wobbling, winless in 4 matches and without suspended centre forward Mark Hughes. It was widely anticipated that Ferguson would introduce veteran Brian Robson in central midfield, with Brian McClair returning to his striking role he'd played before Cantona arrived at the club. Instead, McClair stayed in midfield alongside Paul Ince, and Ferguson deployed 3 natural wingers at Carrow Road, with Andrei Kanchelskis. I don't know if you remember him or not, but was absolutely quick as lightning he was, played down the right wing, pre-Beckham. So with Andrei Kanchelskis in the same team as Sharp and Giggs, who essentially played as a centre forward in advance of Cantona. The outcome was quite an astonishing spell of counter-attacking football, which uh, Norwich dominated the play, if I remember correctly, but United scored 3 quick goals 3 quick counter-attacking goals in the first 21 minutes of that game. Cox also said that the counter-attacking football looked so simple. So United, we were playing first time we played an out-and-out counter-attacking football, and we made it look easy. Uh, Basically, United would wait for Norwich to push forward, and then attacked into the space behind them with frightening speed. Each time they broke in behind with multiple players, each time they took Gunn, who was the goalkeeper for Norwich at the time, took him out of the game before scoring the goals that I mentioned. A minor tweak in formation, as I mentioned earlier, Ferguson was ahead of his time with his tactical nuance, despite not being born in any particular, actually, school of football and philosophy. And then moving forward to 2005, he used Ruud van Nistelrooy as a lone striker. Now, I remember at the time that the entire Old Trafford was chanting out 4-4-2, 4-4-2, because they disapproved of playing a lone striker. And Fergie didn't care. Fergie didn't care. He must have sensed that there was a tactical shift going on. And he made that change to his team, and he stuck with it until he realised that Ruud was making his team a little bit one-dimensional. I mean, nobody at that time in England played with a lone striker. Now almost everyone does. In fact, everyone plays with a lone striker. I mean, that is tantamount to Ferguson's tactical genius, is it not? But then moving forward, there comes Fergie's double winning team of 2008. For me, it was Ferguson's most tactically, most tactically astute and flexible team. Probably my favourite United team of all time, if I'm honest. The team could transition between 4-4-2 to 4-5-1 or 4-3-3 in a flash, like lightning. It was a fluid system with Rooney, Ronaldo, Tevez combining beautifully at times. Rooney and Tevez, basically, well, they did a lot, would sacrifice their ability to get the best out of Ronaldo in rotation with Evra, Park, Nani, and Giggs. I remember it being beautiful to watch. And it was the first time I saw a genuine world-class attacking transition in display in that season. Nowadays, it's common to watch a team transition into different shapes in a game. But in 2008, it was a massive deal. Teams just didn't do it. And it was another point to prove that Ferguson was well ahead of his time and a massive tactical genius. And then there's playing Giggs as a number 10 in Turin to rip Marcelo Lippi's brilliant Juventus to shreds, or playing Scholes in the hole behind Ruud van Nistelrooy during the 2002-2003 season. I mean, that season, Paul Scholes finished on 16 goals. He scored 16 goals, which is crazy. And playing Giggs in the midfield with O'Shea to Scholes. Scholes had an eye injury, if I remember right, in 2005. So that meant that he was out for a while. So O'Shea played alongside Giggs in the centre of midfield. And then it was unleashing another moment I remember of tactical genius. Was Fergie using Park Ji-sung to mark Pirlo out of the game. And this is obviously in that Juve game. So there's so many actual points that I could make about where Ferguson's tactical nous kind of makes him one of the most tactically astute managers in football history. And like Pep Guardiola, he changed the game, totally changed the game. I mean, but there is a clear difference in approach between Fergie and Pep. And that's for a reason. Both are products of their respective environments. Pep Guardiola was a product of a Black Messiah, and that was like a coveted academy, which is enriched with wisdom from like Johan Cruyff, and based on the Dutch philosophy. He was born and brought up in a system that he later perfected, Um, the players in La Masia were so La Masia was an academy in which was based on the Dutch philosophy, and Pep was brought up in a system. Well, brought up in that system, and he later went on to perfect it. I mean, players in La Masia were coached to follow the Barca way, or later the Bayern and City. Um, People will come and say it was the Bayern or City way, but really it was like Pep Guardiola that perfected that. Whereas Fergie was never really a system manager. Um, and United have never really been a system club up until that time. I mean, obviously we're known for counter-attacking football now, fast attacker, counter-attacking football, but that's Fergie's legacy on our club. I mean, of course, I mean it's always been known for emphasising on youth and a positive attacking football since Sir Matt Busby's time. But Ferguson has left an indelible, mark on the club. But there's a difference between growing up in an environment to play in a certain way and creating an environment within a winning culture. Within a winning culture. Ferguson falls under the latter category. His innovation was not just limited to tactics. I mean, apart from tinkering and experimenting, constantly find new, more pragmatic ways of playing for anyone else in England. He was single-handedly running the club. Uh, I mean, I'm not downplaying Pep's achievements, Pep Guardiola's achievements. Uh, he definitely has cemented his place in football history in our country. But if you are downgrading Ferguson's tactical nous, and a lot of people seem to do that, they kind of like what they call it, let's call it washing away history. Um, I think you're living in a bit of, make believe, really. Ferguson influenced football tactically a lot more than it's led on. If you don't think that's the case, then you really need to look more carefully about the history of our club and the impact that Alex Ferguson had on the Premier League and Europe as a whole. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.